Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here, just doing a video, a quick and easy video about the Young Turks and what I think about the Young Turks, why I stopped watching last year. I'm not going to do any fancy filters or anything for this one, but because I figured before I go on the treadmill, I'd get this done, so I have like 2 in a day. I was going to quit videos for a while, like for a month, but I decided to throw some stuff together. And I might be, I'll probably be editing. I'm going to edit the audio on my videos from now on because I have had comments about that. You probably hear the air conditioning in the background. But hopefully my audio will be okay. So anyways, I think I'm close enough to the phone. So what happened was, I was a fan of Young Turks from about, I wouldn't really count the early 2000s, but I actually I listened to Air America Radio. I was total liberal, leftist, whatever you want to call it, back then. That said, I was one that really questioned the Democratic Party even back then. But Majority Report was on Air America. Rachel Maddow was on Air, fucking Russiagate herself, Tom Hartman was on there, Randy Rhodes, Mike, what the hell was his name? A lot of people were on there. There were some really great people on there, and there were some not so great people on there. Al Franken was on there. But yeah, there was this thing called the Young Turks. They'd have it in the morning, I believe, really super early. For some reason, they played it, the radio version of that at the time. I heard it a couple times, like, it's all right, But then around 2009, 2010, I started watching them on YouTube. Not regularly, but I'd see clips here and there, and I kind of liked it. But the recent war with Jimmy Dore, with Young Turks, I'm totally on the side of Jimmy Dore and these other leftists and stuff, because the whole thing with Cenk and Anna is that they're total and utter hypocrites. If you watch the old clips that Dore was playing or were on Twitter, totally hypocrites for fostering a very chauvinist environment at that show with Cenk at the helm. And there's also a lot of speculation that those two are kind of sociopathic, narcissistic pigs, and stuff. If you look it up, it's on. If you Google it, the bike story with Anna and her essentially kicking the shit out of this kid that slapped her butt while riding his bike or something. And there's no excuse for sexual harassment, but kicking the shit out of a kid is pretty dumb, horrible thing to do. And she could have gotten arrested for this. I mean, this is assault, physical assault versus minor sexual assault. I don't know. She changed her story on Young Turks, or on her own channel when she later talked about it. There's a video on Vimeo for that, by the way. So these people are essentially just fucking maniacs. But the whole thing with Young Turks, for me, didn't really turn around with 2016. Maybe it should have. I was agnostic about Russiagate. I didn't like Trump, but I didn't mind them talking about Trump because they would talk about Democrats as well back then. Now I realize it's all kind of a grift, a scam, because if you look into, there's a Medium article, Jackson Hinkle talked about this on his channel, about how they're funded by all these billionaires and all these corporatist Democratic Party insiders, essentially. And I think Qatar funded them for a while or something. All this stuff, So when they're talking about Syria, I wouldn't trust them. Even if you have a different opinion about what's happening in Syria and all these countries that the U.S. meddles with. And Noam Chomsky is definitely not on the side of the Young Turks in this situation. He signed something about the chemical weapons thing being, made up and all this stuff. I don't know. I haven't done enough research into that, but I know the Young Turks is a smear merchant operation. And I'll tell you what really got me off the Young Turks, and I've talked about it before, is last year with the virus crisis, they would do these segments. So this is a typical segment. Anti-masker dies from, what? You know, I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to get this video flagged. I know people are getting less flagged now, but from the C virus, right? That's what they said. Another anti-masker dies. Another Republican dies that denied it existed. Ugh. So it became like this regular thing that they had on their channel. And I'm like, okay, so people like Kyle Kalinske or Jimmy Dore would occasionally have like, you know, they'd have like Rick Wiles gets the virus or something, you know, or some famous person that denied existence or something. But it would be these regular people that they would talk about that would be famous regionally in these different places around America, and with no research and no like fact checking with these different articles or different news reports. They would never look into it. Just be like, ha ha. It was almost like they were laughing at these people. These dumb Republicans dying. Why are you? Ha ha ha. You know, they never talked about anybody that was liberal that was dying. Really, it was always used. It was like they were using this as a political weapon, just like they're doing the Me Too thing against Jimmy Dore, which is complete bullshit. If you look at a lot of the old segments that he showed on his videos about them, that they did, that were totally sexist, misogynist, chauvinist. And I'm saying this as somewhat of a chauvinist guy, because I'm probably perceived by people as being a chauvinist because I like dating younger women. I like attractive younger women that are attractive physically, which is something that's verboten for some reason nowadays. I mean, usually, probably, I don't, you know, I like a little bit of fluffing in my loving, you know, as far as a little bit of, I don't mind really thin girls, but, you know, I like a little bit of chunk for my junk, you know, whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm not exactly the thinnest guy myself, and so it kind of works if they're actually, you know, a little bit like me. But, you know, I like younger women, I like attractive women. That's just, I guess that's evil, even though it's evolution and biology and all this stuff. So nowadays I'm a chauvinist, right? According to the woke crowd, probably. According to a lot of other people too, I'm sure. And I make no apologies. I'm getting up there in the age, and my last girlfriend is 15 years younger, and I wouldn't be surprised if my next one is more younger than that. Who knows? I make no apologies for my desires as a man. But anyways, I'm a pig. I don't know if I'm as much of a pig as Shank is, though, because he said a lot of outrageous shit over the years. You know, I don't really focus on those types of things. I just know that I like dating women in their 20s, and I'm up there in age now. I'm not going to say my age. You could probably figure it out from older videos. I'll just say there's numbers in there that are, what is, if you want to do algebra, what 12, the number 12, what's divided by. You can figure that out. It could be 3, it could be 4, it could be the opposite. I mean, as far as like the order of the numbers of my age, of the two numbers my age are, the two numbers. Anyways, I'm going a little in circles here, convoluted. But anyways, I don't give a shit about that. I don't really talk about sex sleazy stuff that much. But it seems like Young Turks was obsessed with some of this stuff. It's like, I like watching Andrew Dice Clay. I think it's hilarious in this way that one of my favorite comedians. And I like a lot of sleazy stuff. I don't like Two Live Crew, you know, from back in the day when I was growing up. Just figure out my age from that. You know, I don't think it's that funny. I don't like, you know, but I like Andrew Dice Clay because it's just so over the top and ridiculous that you just laugh. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I'd be considered chauvinist about, but Young Turks were beyond the pale with their spot the camel toe segments and like who's, you know, talking about like famous women's vaginas that were exposed in you know, paparazzi pictures and stuff. That's just like, and they accused Jimmy Dore of saying the sexist joke once against Anna Kasparian, which he apologized for and stuff. And just because they can't debate the Syria issue or the foreign policy, CIA, all this shit that's going on. So there's a lot of reasonable things with Crystal and Sagar, who still have a new show out there. There's a lot of reasonable people like that out there, left-wing commentators, or Kyle Kalinske, or Jimmy Dore, or some others. And the Young Turks has become this, like, but they haven't really become like this. It just took me a while to wake up that they were these smear merchant, sensationalist, yellow journalists, basically, essentially. They're part grift and part, you know, just terrible people, just constantly shaming people, punching down, You know, your average segment on these Republicans dying from the virus was like, it was like some some like day laborer that had a Twitter following or something like that. Ha, I'm just a dumb redneck, not wearing a mask. Ha ha, this chink. You know, it's like they're almost laughing at these people dying from this, and I was disgusted. And then I was even more disgusted when the BLM thing happened, and when they were telling people to stay home, and then all of a sudden, don't stay home, but be safe, but don't stay home. It's like total hypocrisy. So I fucking hate the Young Turks at this point. It took me years. There were a lot of SJWs that were on there for a long time. You know, I forgot her name that I really hated. I think Francesca Florentini is absolutely gorgeous. I wish she wasn't on that show. It's really sad. She's a beautiful woman. See, I could be sexist, chauvinist too, and talk about women's looks, just like Cenk can. Cenk has. So it's like, I'm not the most. I'm not I'm no model myself. I'm just saying, it's just like fucking. The guy is a total hypocrite, and Anna's a total hypocrite too. She called Alex Jones a fat fuck, and fat shaming's wrong on another segment, but she would fat shame people, talk about people's looks all the time. That's all they talked about. I don't focus on that as much. I'm a pig, but I'm not trying to like virtue signal or like grandstand. I'm just saying I am a pig, but I just don't like focus on that stuff that much. I know I'm a pig, according to a lot of people, I'm sure, nowadays in today's culture, but as I'm Generation X, / late Generation X, I'll just say that. You can figure out my age really easily now. So it's like, I think it's just fucking pathetic that they've gone to this extent as far as shaming people and trying to like use Me Too as a weapon, which it has been, which Rose McGowan has acknowledged too. Another guest was on Jimmy Dore, and I think Crystal and Sagar. So don't watch the Young Turks. Fucking boycott that shit. As far as what I want to happen to the Young Turks, I want them to be split up, just like the people talk about splitting up Facebook, splitting up Twitter. I think they should be split up. They're a virtual monopoly on YouTube as far as news segments go. You look something up, you'll see a Young Turks spot segment and stuff, and I think they're fucking horrible human beings. Roger Waters was right calling them out, calling them the young fucks, the fabulous young fucks, or whatever the hell it calls. I mean, he was wrong for shaming Anna for her looks. I don't think she looks bad for her age. She's not that old, but it was kind of ridiculous. He was just trying to find some ad hominems, because they do that all the time to people. She always talks about how gross people are. This is an outlet that used to talk about lowering the age of consent, talked about to 16, talked about pleasuring animals. I mean, fucking Cenk, the infamous segment, which is around, you can watch it, about how he thinks pleasuring animals should be legal and stuff. The guy, they used to be the Howard Stern meets progressive liberal commentary thing, and then they kind of took the Howard Stern out of it, and now they're just like dumb neoliberals, with a slight progressive edge as almost a smokescreen, with the force the vote thing with Jimmy Dore and all this shit. I hope they suffer ratings. I'm not a violent person, but this war I support, this virtual war against the Young Turks. I'm not a violent person. I think they deserve to be brutalized, not in a real life way, but as far as like, them, on Twitter, as far as videos exposing their bullshit. I hope there's more whistleblowers that come out. I don't really hope for this, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cenk did actually sexually harass for real women that were working for them. And I know he's against unions at his workplace and stuff, and there's all this controversy about that. That was in Huffington Post, I believe, which is hilarious. A way bigger monolithic thing than they punch down. When people punch down like Roger Waters on Young Turks, I think it's awesome. I don't, because they punch up. I mean, they punch down so much. They're so horrible people. It's hard because I have to watch myself for try not to punch down, but it's like people like Jimmy Dore that have woken me up to how this whole thing works with punching up versus punching down. When people are punching down, they're making fun of the regular common person, the common man, the common woman, whatever. They're making fun of common people. A lot of SJWs are making fun of common people, folk too, even though they're college educated people usually that are dyeing their hair blue or whatever and talking about woke politics. That's not, I don't know if it's punching up or punching down. It's kind of lateral, but I think it's good to make fun of some of those ideas, but sometimes they go a little far too. But the Young Turks are it's been horrible, and they've always been sensationalist and essentially yellow journalism to a certain extent. It took me years to realize that, but last year with their coverage of the virus and the people that died, the Republicans that were dying from it, they didn't talk about the liberals that were dying. I'm sure there was plenty of liberals dying from it too that were whatever, at risk or whatever, but they wouldn't talk about that. We'd talk about an anti-masker on Facebook that shared some meme, and then some news story came out that he shared a meme that was anti-mask, and then he was in the hospital with it, and you're dumb Republican, you follow Trump, I'm gonna half celebrate your death. It's like they were half celebrating these people's deaths and illness. So fuck that shit. You want to divide people further, right? You just want to divide people by and box people in, whereas someone like Jimmy Dore will punch up. He's punching at the billionaires that are trying to divide and conquer. Fuck you, Young Turks. I hope they fucking get slaughtered in this war. This is a war between Jimmy Dore and the Glenn Greenwalds and the Matt Taibbi's and the fucking Aaron Mates and the Max Blumenthals of the world. Not that I agree with all their stuff, like some of their China stuff I question. Some of their other stuff I'll question them, but I'm open, to seeing debate about these things rather than just saying they're Russian funded and all this shit. Fucking Madeleine Albright, being celebrated by Anna Kasparian with her interview. These fucking war criminals, basically. So fuck that shit. I hope they're spread to the four winds pretty soon. I hope they have to declare bankruptcy or something, or there's whistleblowers that come out and expose them, and they have all this controversy of lawsuits, all this shit. I hope that happens. That's what I mean by war. That's what I mean by destroyed. But anyways, that's about all.